show me your early game and I will show you your final score. Every challenger player will agree that stage 1 and stage 2 are the most important stages and they will just dictate your game. And if you don't play them correctly, you will just end up most likely with the top 8, top 7, top 6 or top 5.
A great success!
In TFT you have two ways to win the early game. Either you win with a health advantage over your opponents, or you win with an economic advantage over your opponents. Bebe is a master of creating a health advantage in the early game.
I will level up and add in the stress for Guardians. That's gonna make our composition much more tankier, and actually we now finally have a decent composition that can maybe save us some HP, we'll see.
While Milk is the master of creating an economic advantage, and I'm going to reveal you exactly how they are doing it consistently so you can stop gambling your early games.
Oh wait! Oh no! I forgot. Right, this is bad on Diane. No!
The idea behind Bebe's high tempo early game is to save as much HP as possible while dealing hard losses to his opponents. You might not realize, but by doing so he applies a lot of pressure to the 7 other players who need to keep up with the pace, and if they don't do it correctly they're just going to finish 8th. And this is why you're going to use all the resources at your disposal in order to make your board as strong as possible. And I'm going to give you immediately what are the best items for that. If you like to play high tempo and if you have an aggressive playstyle, then you will definitely try to aim for belts, chain vests or swords in the first carousel. The belt can help you create Sunfire, which is by far the best early game item, and you can still make other good items like Warmog, Morello or Zizroth if you like frontline. With chain vest you can make Sunfire of course, but you can also make Titan's Resolve or Gargoyle Stone Plate, and finally with swords you can make Deathblade and Shojin for early game, but you can also make Bloodthirster, Gunblade, Edge of Night and Giant Slayer, which are excellent for mid and late game. You also have other very good early game items like Static Shiv, Ionic Spark and Runelance Hurricane. They all drastically increase the power of your team in early game, and you actually want to have these items if you want to snowball the stage 2. But of course that works only if you have a great unit who can hold these items correctly. So we're going to talk about that right away. So if you have a star with great defensive item which deal also damage over time like Ionic Spark or Sunfire Cape, then you definitely want to have an early game with good 2-star tanks. For instance, you have the 4 Bruisers like this one, or the 4 Guardians like this one. The fights will be long, but you'll just win the war of attrition. However, if you have more offensive items like Static Shiv or Runelance Hurricane, then you definitely need to balance it out, and the best early game comps you can have with these items are the Swift Shots plus Frontline. You can take inspiration with these 2 examples that are showing here. Keep in mind of course that these comps are strong only if you manage to get 2-star units. Okay, now you have your items, you have your units. Let's talk about the augments, the one you really want to pick in order to snowball your early game. So if you plan to play aggressively to make a 5 win streak during stage 2, then you need to be picky with your augments, and I'm going to share the best augments to play flexible and aggressive at the same time. Don't hesitate to reroll the augment if needed. So for the tier 1 augments you want to have Ascension and Second Wind, probably the best 2 to have actually, even though I think they might get nerfed soon. Then you also have Band of Thieves 1 and Thrill of the Hunt. For the tier 2 augments you want to pick Component Grab Bag, Gadget Expert for the 3 static, Meditation, Portable Forge, Salvage Bin, Second Wind of course, Sunfire Board if you don't already have a Sunfire, and Trek Sector because it will help you to have a lot of 2-star units on the board. As for tier 3 augments, you want to pick Assassin Crown for a free Diana plus Infinity Edge, Cavalier Crown for free Sunfire plus Nunu, Mage Crown for Shojin plus Sylas, March of Progress to have an XP advantage in the early game, Radiant Relink, and the Whisper Crown for a Titan's Resolve and a Sylas. Obviously there are some more situational augments like Ludeng's Echo if you play 3 mages like this comp I'm showing here, because they will trigger the augment twice, or I can talk about Electrocharge 1, 2 and 3 if you have a full Bruiser or Guardian team like I showed earlier. All I've said until now is about theory. Now let's talk about execution, how you're going to apply this in your game. If during stage 1 you manage to get the units and the items I mentioned above, you will push level 4 at stage 2-1. If you win the first 2 PvP fights, then you can push level 5 at stage 2-3. It's very aggressive, but that way you have more chances to keep your win streak. After carousel, spend all your time scouting for the winners of the lobby. By that I mean the other players who also have 100 HP, and make sure you position yourself against them, because if if you face them, you want to make sure that you win no matter what. Your ideal situation is to reach stage 2-7 with 100 HP, 5 win streak and at least 20 gold at level 5. Then you can push level 6 at stage 3-1 if it helps you to make stronger, otherwise you can wait stage 3-2. If you manage to do this, you will enter the mid game with the best conditions and you probably already secured your top 4.
Yeah, boy.
But what happens if actually in the early game you only drop bad items, or you don't have 2-star units, or you just have a bad augment?
Why you bullying me?
And actually you just can't push aggressively because you don't have the resources to do it. If that's the case, maybe you want to adapt the Milk's way of playing the early game with a low tempo, and this one is actually particularly good if you want to play reward comps as well. I'm talking about Mick as an example because he is known to be a one-trick pony in major tournaments, and he literally loses the whole stage 2 on purpose to create an economic advantage over his opponents.
Milk's goal might be to, yes, open fort fully, go for the 20 gold. This is the delicious milk that we know and love. Some players maybe hate.
The components you want to have in the carousels are the relevant components you want to have for your reward comps. For instance, if you plan to play Nidalee reroll, then you will try to build a Deathblade and a Gizo first because they are really good on her. If you wanna play Israel reward comp, then maybe you will try to get instead Blue Buff and Archangel Staff. And finally, if you plan to play Set reward comp, you will try to get Titan's Resolve in Gizo first. Obviously, during stage 1 and stage 2, you will only buy units which are relevant for your reward comp, and you will try not to buy anything else because you will need to save as much gold as possible to create your economic advantage. You can also decide to play Astral on purpose to get more gold thanks to the orbs, or you can also decide to play 2 or 4 Mirage if it's the Pirates loot bonus. Speaking of that, let's talk about the augments that will help you to create an economic advantage. So in Q1 you will try to pick AFK, Featherweights 1, 2 and 3 if you plan to play a reward comp, Double Trouble 1, 2 and 3 which are good once you get your 3-star units, Pandora items, Preparation 1, 2 and 3, Tiny Titans, Calculated Loss, Mage Conference for more gold per turn, Metabolic Accelerator, Pandora's Bench, Rich Get Switcher, True Twos, High Roller, Think Fast at stage 2-1 because it can literally make you start with a 3-star 1-cost unit, and of course Trade Sector. Obviously any emblem augment can be relevant depending on the comp you wanna play. Now that you know the direction of your game, let's talk about how to execute your ideas. It's actually very simple, but there are a few things that you need to do it perfectly, otherwise you will lose your game. The simple part is that you will never invest gold in EXP during stage 1 and stage 2. Instead, you will try to reach higher and higher interest threshold. You will also try to lose every single fight on purpose to trigger the last streak additional income. Thanks to the latter, you should also get the priority onto 4 carousel to complete a key item for your reward comp. If you see that someone is doing the same, don't hesitate to sell all the not important units to create a board with only 1 or 2 units and obviously lose. Yes, you might lose a bunch of health, but your goal is to be at the end of stage 2, be level 4 with at least 50 gold. Now let's talk about the important part. At stage 3-1, you will need to roll until you reach 30 gold because you want to abuse the 55% 1-cost odds at level 4 to find as many relevant 1-cost units as possible. Also, it should help you to strengthen your board and stop the blood loss during stage 3. Starting stage 3-2, you will try to get back to 50 gold and slow roll for the 3-star units you need. Well, now you might be asking, how do I manage my econ and leveling starting stage 3? You have done your stage 1 and stage 2 perfectly, but you don't really know how to apply a good strategy for the rest of the game. Don't worry, I made a guide just right here where I talk about the different strategies so you can finish your game in a very good condition. So you can complete your knowledge and have perfect games right after. See you at the top of the ladder.